Okay, so we'll call the meeting to order, and I'll ask Commissioner Notarianni to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, I trust everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes from the November 16 meeting of the board. And assuming that you have, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Do I have a second? I have a second. On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. The minutes from the November meeting are approved. Is there anybody from the public who would like to address the board on the agenda items? No one stepping forward, so we'll move on. And I'll remind everybody, for the public comment portion, we adopted a procedural rule of 3 minutes for each public speaker, so that we can give everybody the opportunity to address the board. So move on to our first motion. It's a motion to approve all the current payables for the Community Corrections Center and the prison. Again, I trust everybody's had an opportunity to review all the facts and the figures, and assuming that you have, I'll entertain a motion to approve the current payables. We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second. On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Serene, you got, it was motion by
Yes,
Commissioner Chermak and
Mr. Chermak, yep.
second by the sheriff. Okay. So, next is the Controller's Report. Mr. DiBileo?
Yes, Your Honor. Controller's report for the prison inmate and canteen accounts through November 2022. The Controller's Office reviewed the prison inmate and canteen account reconciliations, which were prepared by the Prison Business Office for the month of November 2022, and found no discrepancies between the reconciliations excuse me, and the bank statements. The balance in the inmate account was $445,320.74 as of November 30th, 2022. The balance in the canteen checking account was $308,058.37 as of November 30th. And in addition, as of November 30th, the canteen account owned one certificate of deposit valued at $15,000, which matured on December 3rd, and two Pennsylvania local government investment trusts, 120-day term investments currently valued at $876.60 and $133,972.65, which will mature January 26th of 2023, for a total investment of $747,382.32. I'd like to mention quickly that the $15,000 did mature December 3rd and is now at Pliget, earning 4.41%. And at our mid-January meeting, we'll take a look at the current interest rates at that time and make a decision on what rate and term that the board would like to invest our near $750,000, which would be maturing January 26th at that time. During the month of November 2022, $66,340.61 was paid from the canteen account for the benefit, welfare, and education of county inmates, and the itemized details are attached. And that concludes my November report.
Thank you, Controller DiBileo. Anybody have any questions for the Controller? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve his report.
Motion.
A motion by Commissioner Domenick and a second by Commissioner Notarianni on the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Next, we'll call on Mr. McConaughey for the Community Corrections Center report.
Good afternoon, everyone. All right, this is the house arrest report for the month of November. Adult house arrest had 153 participants, juvenile had 23. Programs revenues, house arrest had $40,862.31. Juvenile had $4,930, for a total of $45,792.31. Year-to-date totals for both departments is $614,998.21. Programs expenses were $73,056.85. Programs completions were 28. Programs violations were 11. Outstanding warrants is 3 for house arrest. Budget overall, overtime's 56%, expenses 83%, and revenues at 93%. And that's the end of my report.
Any questions for Mr. McConaughey? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve his report.
So moved.
And a second by Commissioner Chermak. On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Your report is approved. Thank you, Norm.
Have a good holiday.
Thank you.
Thank you,
too.
gentlemen.
Merry Christmas.
Now we'll move to the Warden's report. Warden Betti?
Good afternoon, Board. The average daily population for November 2022 was 751 inmates, 560 were county inmates. For the month, we averaged 654 adult males, 5 juvenile males, and 92 females. The average daily population of U.S. Marshal detainees for the month was 191. Our overtime and out-of-county boarding reports are attached. The staffing update, currently our correctional officer numbers break down to 167 full-time correctional officers on shift, 7 out on workers' comp, 2 on continuous FMLA, and 55 have intermittent FMLA. We have 2 on administrative leave, and 2 full-time vacancies for a total of 180 full-time officers. Budget as of November 30th, revenue was at 82%, expenses were at 93%. Extraordinary occurrence reports, there were 6 in the month of November. On November 2nd, 2 male inmates got into a physical altercation. Since the 2 wouldn't stop when ordered to do so, stop fighting. When ordered to do so, a burst of OC spray was administered to stop the fight. Responding officers were then able to gain control of the situation shortly thereafter. On 11/11, a male inmate who was on a suicide prevention watch was observed to be hitting his head off his cell's door, the cinder block wall, and the metal toilet. Responding staff were able to safely enter the cell and place him in the emergency restraint chair for his safety. On 11/13, a newly committed inmate was discovered attempting to commit suicide. He had tied his bed sheet around his neck and was attempting to hang himself with the bed's frame. Staff entered the cell, safely removed the makeshift noose, had him assessed by the on-duty nurse, and ultimately placed him in a camera cell for further observation. On 11/19, an inmate in one of our minimum security units became very upset with the officer who was working on the unit. The situation escalated to the point where the staff felt it was necessary to move him to pre-hearing segregation. During the transfer, this inmate's behavior rapidly declined, and a decision was made to place him in the emergency restraint chair for everyone's safety. On 11/20, an inmate who was on a behavioral watch covered his cell window and the camera in his cell. When approached by the staff to remove the obstructions, this inmate refused to comply, and he demanded to be placed in the emergency restraint chair. He further stated that if we did not place him in the ERC, he would begin to hit his head off the cinder block walls in his cell. So to ensure his safety, the staff placed him in the ERC. On 11/25, the Lackawanna County Sheriff's Department brought an uncooperative inmate to the prison. This individual refused to cooperate with the booking process, and he refused to submit to being scanned by our whole body scanner. He then started to physically resist officers, and a decision was made to place him in the emergency restraint chair for safety and the safety of all those involved. PREA. There was one PREA investigation completed in the month of November. It was an allegation of staff on inmate sexual misconduct, and it was deemed unfounded. Digital library service, for lack of a better term, that's what I called it. Sorry about that. At the suggestion of Judge Gibbons, during the November prison board meeting, I've had a productive conversation with an official from the Lackawanna County Library System about joining forces to be able to provide the inmate population with a more extensive e-library than what was being planned at the prison. As it turns out, the library system uses the same company, Overdrive, that we were planning to work with, and we're attempting to contact officials at Overdrive to see if there's a way that the prison can be added to the mix in the hopes that it could result in a significantly larger scale of available reading materials for our population. As of this writing, I have not yet received an update on the matter, but I received an update since this writing, and the update is I believe we're going to get together in January to discuss this further. Things are looking, in my opinion, very positive, but there's some things we have to iron out, questions I have to, I think Bev DeBarro sent Judge Gibbons several questions that you shared with me that I should be able to get those answers at when we meet in January. And I'm gonna reach out to Mary Garm, who's here with us right now, and I think we should be able to get together sometime in January, maybe get some stuff ironed out, but I'm looking at it as a very positive thing at this point in time, that it's looking very doable. And my whole goal is, I want it to be free for the population here.
So you can really reach out,
Yes,
since she's here.
yes. Since she said we're gonna detain her before she leaves, sorry, Mary.
Make sure she gets dinner.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Personnel matters. There are several personnel-related updates to provide the board whenever there's an executive session held, and that concludes my report.
Warden, did you indicate that you did increase the tablet? Because the only reason I'm asking is I did receive a letter from an inmate who wanted to thank the board for the increased amount of content on the tablets. He was very pleased.
I don't believe that we've actually increased the amount of content. We increased the number of tablets. It's now a 1-for-1 throughout the facility.
Was it that time? Oh, was the amount of time?
And I was gonna say,
Well, it was
we
very
increased the
positive
time.
that he-
That's good.
Yeah, was that Mr. Sewell?
I meant to bring it, I don't have it,
Yeah,
yeah. It was short and sweet, he said I'm not sure who's responsible for this, but he was very appreciative.
No,
Now, I
that-
received another one who said, prior to that, who said he doesn't get the tablet enough, and was complaining that when he's on 20-hour lockdown, which I'm assuming is restricted housing, that, they don't get tablets in restricted housing.
When they're in disciplinary custody, no, they don't. I don't believe they do. Colleen would be much better at answering that question than I do.
Definitely disciplinary custody, but I believe Charlie, our administrative segregation unit, they were not getting the tablet as much as everybody else, but we since have fixed that. Now,
Yeah, I
at one
think that's
level-
probably a good idea,
Yeah.
only, I mean, maybe not as to the extent that those not in the restricted unit are getting it, but just so that they can access, all this, that extra stuff, we got the mental health, the
Right.
drug addiction stuff, so that they have some, so they can, continue to treat in whatever way that they can by reading and.
Yeah, and I'm a big proponent of them because of the programming that's on it, because of even the entertainment of it. It keeps an individual's mind occupied. I'd rather keep a person busy doing stuff than have them with nothing to do, because bad things come out of that.
And if you wanted to not give them, I think you said you can control the content. So if they're in restrictive housing and you don't think they should have the entertainment value of it, maybe you can restrict it just so that they can access, the educational materials.
I think some of the individuals from our security staff, they weren't sure if we should be letting the inmates have them in their cells. I said
How
yes.
often do inmates get them now, like regular inmates?
Oh, sure. There was just some confusion amongst security staff that they weren't sure if the inmates in certain housing units should be allowed to have the tablets in their cells. And I, since then, have fixed the issue that I said, yes, they can have it in their cell.
So it's one-on-one?
Yes.
Tabs. So do they get it all day, or how
Basically, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m.
so I don't know if that's what you'd wanna do with restrictive housing, I'll leave that up, to you, but and you might wanna, like I said, restrict the content, but I think it would be good to give it to them, I don't know what you guys would think would be reasonable if they're on lockdown 20 hours,
Right.
but at least so that they can, remember there was like mental health programs and
With the Adobe program, there's a lot available. to
even
them.
GED, like just
Yeah.
something to keep them,
Right.
you know,
Yeah,
for- more for
occupied
their
and
brain than their entertainment,
busy.
so.
Right.
Can you
Absolutely.
let me know what,
Yeah.
let the board know?
Yeah, and again, I'm a big proponent of it, and I can't think of a reason not to allow a person, even in disciplinary custody, to have some access to the tablets, especially since, I know they're getting some because the mail is on the tablets. So in order to have access to their mail, they gotta have access to their
I
tablets.
was thinking if they have like mental health issues or something, maybe
Yeah.
that would be helpful to them.
Yeah.
And then I just wanna ask, FMLA, do you consider all the employees, or is this just the COs, sergeants, lieutenants, or is it considered administration too?
It's just the COs.
Okay.
But I can tell you that I can't think of a single member of the administration with continuous FMLA.
And then lastly, and I wanted to let you know, because I don't know if you have these figures, but this is only through the end of October. We don't have November's and December's amounts yet, but we are up almost $135,000 from last year in revenue from the tablets and the phones. It's $134,580 and change. So hopefully we'll generate even more in the next 2 months, so, and then we'll get that 2% or remember the contract or
Right.
whatever. So
Right.
hopefully the prison will be getting more revenue, and I think it's a step in the right direction. The more we get them on the tablets.
I
the
think a
more
lot of that's from the
revenue we
texting.
I'm sorry?
I think a lot of that additional amount might be from texting
On the tablets?
on the tablets, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the more we can get them to use it, obviously it helps the prison, you know?
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else have any questions?
How's the COVID situation, Warden, in the prison?
The COVID situation is, I believe, at 0, but the last time somebody asked me that, by the time I sat down, we had 1, and then it turned into 5. So, please. Right now, I believe we're at 0? One?
Yesterday, it hasn't been.
I
Okay.
can't believe we're still talking about COVID.
Yeah.
Like, is it ever gonna end?
And I've been in contact with Attorney Frank Bollock, and he tells me that the programs that the Recovery Bank are involved with have been going swimmingly.
Yeah, we've been slowly reintroducing programming. At this point, we've been doing things in the evenings, and I know one of them is involved with the Recovery Bank and Attorney Bullock.
Someone else did call me. Do you remember the gentleman who called about the GED program? I'm so bad with names. Do you remember his name?
Yeah.
Well, he called, I guess he used to run the GED program, so he called him and, you know, he left me several messages about getting it back up and running.
Jim Allen?
Is it Jim Allen? Yeah, you're better than I am with the names. So I had just indicated that we're dealing with video conferencing and making sure that the rooms are all set up and that.
Right, we're still kind of fighting that battle. And what we're doing with GED right now is outreach has been providing it remotely. So,
Yeah, I talked to Outreach, they said that's not the most, I mean, it's better than nothing.
right.
But Brian Jeffers said he's been working with you and he anticipates hopefully the beginning of the year, you guys having that sorted out. Do you think that's still gonna?
I'm hoping so, yeah. A lot's contingent upon the courts and lessening the dependency on video court. We're trying to get Central Court to be back over in the building behind us. What it was intended for is us to just send our guys for Central Court down there instead of using a video court. That'd be the magistrates in Central Court.
What about the multi-purpose room, where the one-on-one visits used to take place?
I mean, that's always a possibility of expanding it. Matters to that if we need to.
Like, could we have GED classes there?
The state is really strict on the space that we use. They're very, very strict.
I-
So our one room.
Yeah, not for,
It's not a
not
large
for,
room,
yeah.
actually.
There are guidelines, that you need so many square footage per student.
And that's not set up for Polycon, I don't think,
No.
right? Okay, all right.
All right, well, in the absence of any further questions, I'll ask for a motion to approve the warden's report.
So moved.
Second. Got a first, got a second, so on the question, all in favor? Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Warden. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody from the public wish to address the board?
How you doing? My name's Kevin Herrick. I'm very involved in the recovery community in Lackawanna County, and I just approached the warden and a couple people on the board about bringing the AA program back into Lackawanna County Jail. It's something I'm very passionate about because I know what the AA program has done for me. It gave me my life back, and it's just done some wonderful things. And you know, I don't know if you know this, but people come from all across the country to get sober in Lackawanna County, and it's because we have so much support from the recovery community, the DA's office, the commission, from everybody. I mean, we get a lot of support. And I think it's very important that we reach out while they're still in custody, that, you know, to let them know that there's a different way to live out there. You know, there's a different way of thinking, and that's what I was taught when I came into the program. So, you know, I don't know where we stand on that, but I'd definitely like to bring the AA meetings back into Lackawanna County and into the prison, you know, and show these guys that there is a better way to live.
Warden?
More than happy. I was just writing a note for Colleen. We need to get him a volunteer packet. So we'll get you something. But more than happy.
And I said before, I think we need NA, AA, and group.
Yeah.
Maybe target, maybe like the beginning of the year. I don't know how often you guys used to do it or how often it's feasible, but just so NA, people could go to NA, AA, and then I think group is sometimes helpful.
We've always had a large group of individuals from AA willing to come in, but to be honest, NA, if anybody has any connections with NA to do a group search in the prison, I've always had a hard time.
I
getting
actually
any.
might.
Yeah.
Is there a space issue though with that too?
If they can come in at night and do it, we
Okay.
have the space after court hours, so.
Yeah, I'm very flexible, so, you know, whenever we decide that we can do this, I mean, if I do it a couple days a week, I mean, I could do that.
Oh,
You know, I know what it's done in my life, and it's totally transformed me into a different person, and I'm very passionate about it, you know? All right, thank you very much.
Kevin.
Thanks, Roger.
Okay. Anybody else from the public? Okay.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
What's your name, please?
Francesco Malacaria.
Okay.
I'm a member of NEPA Stands Up. I've been working on the solitary issue for over a year now, from creating the plan to running the field program to involved with the lawsuit that is now going on between the county and our organization. We were told months ago to come here, to come to these meetings, and that you would address solitary confinement in a practical way. We were told that the Board of Elections weren't able to handle the issue, that it would be the purview of this board here. We've been here for every month for, what is it, 6 months now? Not a single agenda item has been brought to the board for solitary confinement. You know, like, you're just stringing us on. This board is responsible for probably hundreds of thousands of dollars in lawsuits at this point, between the Purvis lawsuit and the lawsuit against, you know, from our organization. Like, you tell us to come here, to come to these meetings, and then we just feel strung along, like, where's the movement on solitary? You guys all said, or not all of you, there was significant agreement that there were issues with how people were being treated inside this prison. And we were told to come to the prison board to address those issues. We've been here for every month, and we have no answers.
Can I respond to that? Okay. We have been discussing it, the issue, for the last several months. And after the last prison board meeting, the warden and I invited a couple of representatives from your group to be here today to take a tour of the prison, because the warden and some of us don't really believe we fall in that category of solitary confinement. So if
We
you
use the
would-
same definition of solitary confinement that the warden seems to go
Let
off
him
to.
finish what he's saying, please.
So if you would, if the warden, if his invite still stands, hopefully you can get a tour of the prison and talk about the area that, you know, is, I can't think of the name of it.
Restrictive housing?
Restrictive housing, right, and go take a look at it with prison staff. And, but, yeah, we're against solitary confinement also. I think everybody on the board is against what's considered solitary.
But you all have like refused to like show the difference between what you all consider restrictive housing and what is broadly considered solitary confinement across like the United States. Like RHU is solitary confinement, like everywhere in the U.S. And like this phonetic wordplay that you guys are playing with semantics is honestly ridiculous.
Well, if somebody's considered dangerous to physically harm other inmates.
I can understand that argument,
person
but for
has
you guys to
by
say
himself
that.
For a certain period of time.
Understood, and like that was written into the legislation that we were proposing as well. So that wasn't going to like be removed, like your ability to put someone on a timeout essentially. But you guys say that we don't use solitary confinement, we don't use solitary confinement, we don't use solitary confinement, but we have to be able to put these people away for a certain amount of time by themselves in a room. So like, we have to use solitary confinement, but we don't use solitary confinement. That's how it sounds.
Well, that may be how it sounds to you. It's not how it is, and you have, I think you just have to.
Can you elucidate how like it's different?
Let me finish what I'm saying, please. You have to be able to agree to disagree here on this, all right? You're not an expert in confinement. None of us are experts in confinement. The people who run the prisons in this country are the experts in confinement. Now, you've taken it upon yourselves to come here. You said that we invited you. This is open to the public. You were told to come here. Whoever told you to come here told you for whatever reason they decided that they wanted you to come here, perhaps not to go to them. And then you took it upon yourselves to file a lawsuit. And so the lawsuit is still pending. Okay? So, you know, my suggestion to you is you received an invitation, accept the invitation, go down and look for yourselves and see what our restrictive housing units look like. And then, you know, maybe you can come back with, you know, maybe you'll have the same perspective. I don't know. You know?
I would just like to point out that we do work with, you know, experts in, you know, the prison industry.
So do we.
Understood.
Okay? We employ experts. in the prison
And
industry.
we have a coalition with, you know, members of the community that are also experts in this, you know, including lawyers. So like, it's a little disingenuous to come to us and to say to us that like we don't have like any experience like in.
I didn't say that you had no experience. What I said was you complaining about the conditions in this facility, okay? Unless you've spent time in this facility and.
Which you're assuming that I haven't.
Don't let me finish, please. I'm not assuming anything. I'm saying to you, you've received an invitation. Accept the invitation.
Well, obviously we're here.
Well, then go and have a tour that you've been invited to do, okay?
Okay, more stringing along. Thank you.
No one's stringing you along. Anybody else?
Can I just say something in response to that gentleman? I didn't catch his first name, but I believe that restrictive housing versus solitary confinement is a difference without a distinction. That's my opinion. So I agree with him on that. I believe that there are violent offenders who do require, for the safety of our employees and also the other inmates, that need to be separated from general population. But like I said before, I still think that those people, if they have any type of issues with substance abuse or mental health, should have some access to that via the tablets, so they have something. But I do think that no one has spoken to me about it. I do think we need to look at maybe internally the policy as to what renders somebody, for a lack of a better way of saying it, eligible for restrictive housing or whatever it's called. Like, in other words, if somebody gets in a, you know, I don't know, I can't right now, I can't think of an example, but if something a non-violent offense, maybe they should just have some sort of punishment in terms of privileges being taken away, visits or the phone or maybe the tablet, as opposed to being put on a 20-hour lockdown. Am I right that restricted housing is 20-hour lockdown? Yes, right?
If you're in disciplinary custody, it's 23.
23 hours. So I agree with that. I think that needs to be looked at, and if somebody can provide me with the information as to what the requirements are or what the factors are that go into making a determination as to when somebody should be put in restrictive housing or not. I agree, 23-hour lockdown for nonviolent offenses, in my opinion, inhumane. And there is, with regard to the lawsuit, that's about the referendum on the ballot, right? Not the underlying substantive issue as to
No, it's just
whether
with
or not.
the, yeah.
Yeah, it's, so to the gentleman's point there, I was the gentleman who indicated at the commissioners' meeting that your issues were best addressed before the prison board. And I've advised the prison board of that because the issue of restrictive housing or solitary confinement goes to, in my opinion, a policy-based issue that's made at the prison or by the prison, along with not even so much the prison board. They can be part of that process in establishing policy, but those are internal decisions made about the governance of the prison. Right. And so the lawsuit is specifically about whether or not that question you raised should be placed on a ballot. So, so first, I am the gentleman that said this is the appropriate forum for it. And I just want to say, and I hear what you've said. To the judge's point, assuming I'm correct and it's policy-based and you want to have a discussion about change, I think everybody needs to start from the same premise, right? So let's, to the judge's point, take the invitation, which you said you're here, go see it, go ask some questions if you can, if any, you know, if you have any, and then you start from that premise, and then that's how you have the discussion. It's not about stringing anybody along. It's not about anything like that. I think the board's been receptive to hearing what you're saying, and there has been internal discussion regarding that. But I think a lot more would be accomplished if you would take that invitation and at least start from that point, and then we can all, I think we're talking about the same thing. That's all.
And I think you're saying the same thing I said. I think you just said it better. Is gathering information as to what factors are used to put somebody, but I don't believe that looking at a restrictive housing unit can clearly tell you how it feels to be locked down in 23 hours. I just don't. I think you can look at it all day long. It's not gonna really, so. But I mean, gathering the information as I indicated earlier, I think that would be very helpful. And I'm open to discussing it with anyone at any time.
Okay. Anybody else want to, from the public?
Hello, my name is Maggie Craig. I live and work in Scranton. This is
What's the last name, Maggie?
Craig, C-R-A-I-G. This is the third prison board meeting I've attended. In the past two meetings, there was a lot of discussion about mental health issues in the prison. And 2 meetings ago, Warren Betti committed to you, Commissioner Domenick, to present you with a written plan to address mental health concerns, I believe. Was that ever given to you?
No. However, we are having a salary board meeting at 2 o'clock. I don't want to say anything in advance of that meeting. I don't want to be presumptuous. I think we're all on the same page on the salary board. I don't anticipate it being an issue based upon the representations I received, but I think after that, you'll be able to see where we're at with it.
So there will be a written plan at some point?
I asked for a written plan in the event that we eliminate any of the positions internally.
Okay.
It's my understanding that that is not going to occur, and we're gonna keep the 2 mental health, substance abuse. We really need to shorten that name. Mental health, substance abuse specialists. There's 2, 1 vacant, 1 filled, and so we're gonna fill the other one.
Great.
The licensed clinician is vacant. We're gonna fill that. We have a mental health substance abuse specialist, no, supervisor, that's filled. And then they're gonna fill the deputy warden of treatment. But I think that, assuming that the salary board goes the way I hope it will, we're all on the same page that that's not gonna happen, so.
Great.
I do think that, I mean, there are budgetary concerns. The prison is the largest part of the county's budget. So, you know, we have to keep the budgetary concerns in mind, but I think that because of the co-occurring conditions of substance abuse and mental health and the large quantity of inmates, large percentage that we have, and I think the warden, I may be wrong, but I think you said about 85% have co-occurring. I think that we should be growing the mental health and the substance abuse. If we can't do it internally, but by adding more positions because of budgetary concerns, maybe we can have, you know, outside agencies supplement additional treatment. So
There was also talks about an assessment of what the mental health concerns of the population are, what percentages of the population do have mental health.
I think the warden had said that there, he wasn't, I mean, he doesn't have the numbers in front of him, but I think he said maybe 50, 60 straight mental health. I mean, there is a distinction between people with mental health diagnoses and then those who take medication. I mean,
Right.
to me, there's a distinction made, but to me, if you have a mental health diagnosis, you need mental health treatment, whether it be medication or not, you should still be offered the treatment. I thought that eliminating any internal positions would be reckless, irresponsible, and inhumane to a certain extent. So I think we are gonna, my understanding is we're gonna be keeping those 5 positions, and I think we talked last time, like as of September, they had like 250 inmates sign up for like one-on-one counseling, and I really think that they're doing a good job. And also, I mean, we're still talking about COVID, so in the event that COVID takes a turn or something else comes down the pike, we don't wanna have a situation where we can't have outside agencies coming in, so I think it's important to have in-house treatment. So I'm very optimistic, and I'm very, again, I'm putting the cart before the horse because we haven't had the salary board meeting. We will in about an hour. But I'm very optimistic that we are gonna proceed in that way, and I'm very happy about it.
One last question. I was kind of surprised to hear not very many mental health updates today. Is that something maybe we can commit to in prison board meetings to speak to it specifically?
Well, specifics, HIPAA.
Right, no, I don't
Yeah.
mean that specifically, but what progress is being made to give mental health support to
I
the
mean, I
population?
actually, to tell you the truth, I think that's actually, Lindsay Cochran, who is our special health, I'm sorry, what is it, mental health substance abuse supervisor. I think she, you know, maybe every now and then could come and give an update. She's the one who kind of does that program with the people that she works with the inmates. So maybe we can have her here at the next meeting or sometime in the future.
Perfect.
Would that be something you'd make you have? Is that what you're looking for?
I would appreciate, I just don't want to lose track of it. So I think,
No,
having
it's always on my mind.
And if you take that tour today, talk with Lindsay if she's here.
She is here. I wasn't gonna be offering the tour today because we have a salary board to get to, unless I can find someone in-house to do that tour. I won't be able to.
Well, they're here today, so if we can get that accomplished, Warden, that would be great. And perhaps
Our
they can talk to Lindsay,
When's our next prison board? So we have the
middle of
January
January.
4th, so then 3 weeks after that would be what? The 21st?
It'd be 2 Wednesdays after.
So the
it'd be-
third Wednesday
The
of
18th.
January, whatever that date is, the 18th will be the next prison board. So if Warden Betty would please just have Lindsay appear and we could put her on the agenda to give an update. And maybe let her know sooner rather than later so she can put something together.
And again, I apologize to everybody, but besides my unavailability, I could get somebody. PREA dictates that we do PREA background checks on anybody that goes past or into our secure perimeter. So we would have to get information, personal information on individuals in order to provide them with a tour. Otherwise, we would be violating PREA, Prison Rape Elimination Act.
So can we set that up as soon as
Yeah.
possible?
Yeah.
You have
Okay.
forms or something you could give them before they go?
Okay, thank you. Anybody else from the public? Okay, looks like no takers. Warden, you said you needed to report on some disciplinary things? So
Yeah.
that's a executive session, so I'll ask everybody to step out, please. Ready? Okay. So, we concluded our executive session on some personnel issues, and so we're back. Members have any other business? You don't. Before I get a motion to adjourn, I just want to say we all had lunch here today, and we enjoyed what the inmates enjoyed for their lunch today.
It was very good.
Wanted to have it, and without letting anybody know ahead of time what was going on, and I will say that enjoyed our lunch very well. So,
Thank you.
makes me feel better to know that they're eating good food. So,
It's our last meeting of the year.
on that, it's our last meeting, but it's not our last meal. And so, it's been a interesting year as a board, and look forward to 2023. So, thank you all, and thank you in the audience for coming repeatedly and raising issues that help keep us focused as a board on the mission of our board and our prison. So, with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion. Second.
On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. We are adjourned. Happy Christmas
Merry
and Happy New Year.
Christmas.
Happy holidays.